Hey, Tony Gassens here. Now, there's one thing that we don't think about as parents, and I've seen some parents say, you could do everything for your child, and they grow up and they give you they behind the kiss, and they don't appreciate you, and they this and that, and that can be true. That does happen. Me and my son, my oldest son, we get into it many times. And I'm hard on him and I'm real with him, but I can guarantee you at the end of the day, he'll tell you, when it's all said and done, he'll tell you that he know I love him, that I sacrificed for him, that I put my neck on the line for him. And we got into it before he went to college. And he, I apologize to him for projecting my fears of him failing and going through what I went through in college onto him and being hard on him, and he apologized for internalizing and really just having a guilty conscience because he knew what I was telling him was the truth, and I was calling him out on not doing enough preparation and not taking the time and doing the extra. And that's life. And right now we got the guy who is out, he giving all the advice about the running the marathons and all of this, the Navy SEAL, David Goggins. But then his daughter don't like him. And his daughter selling him out. And when you don't have a relationship with your child, and then you don't do what your child wants you to do when they want you to do it, they can get like that. In this case, to me, I bet it just was an estranged relationship. And me being a man, I could tell that the guy is insufferable. And the people who really hiding his bodies, meaning the women he done put hands on, or if he's ever put hands on a woman, if he's ever did anything, not everybody tells. Like black men, ironically, a lot of people don't realize this, but black men are the most protected men on the planet by women. We as black men have secrets and skeletons in our closets that will never come out because black women have been conditioned, and women in general, as it relates to dealing with a black man, for the most part, has been conditioned to protect black men and not out them. And yes, there are black men who date outside their race and they get in trouble when they do something wrong, or they don't do something wrong and they get lied on. But very rarely do you see a black woman out a black man or lie on a black man. Very rarely. Like, we don't have any examples in the media or anything where a black woman said that a black man raped her and it turned out to be a lie. Like, we maybe can find, one or on a handful, count on one hand, but we don't see that often. Whereas we've seen it several times with, white men going through that or black men going through that, at the hands of another woman, outside of his race, whenever he didn't want to do something, like what Jonathan Majors did to his ex-girlfriend. That's like 1% of what a black woman goes through at the hands of a black man, and it never really hits the light of day. Like when it hits the light of day, the woman her face looked like Rihanna's face looked when her and Chris Brown got into it. When it hit the light of day, like in most cases, like we don't see a lot of situations where black women are just exposing black men. And what I don't like about the David Goggins situation is that he going back and forth with his daughter and basically doing hit pieces on his daughter. And it's like, that's a child. You don't do that. It's not only is it a child, but it's a woman. And if you are some tough man and you this Navy SEAL, you don't socially abuse your daughter just because she came out and said some stuff about you. You take that on the chin as a man and you say, you know, my daughter said what she said. I'm going to leave that there. She has every right to feel how she feels. I love her. I miss her. And I'm going to leave that there. I saw a man in the comments that said something. David Goggins sent a message to his daughter that was full of pain. Somebody said it was a guy, and the guy said it was real lame. And my thing that I want parents to remember is our legacy is what our children say about us. And it's a lot of parents that don't want to accept that because they wanted to have kids and then they want to live their life, and you don't get to do that. And a lot of parents, they have kids and they want to live their life, and then you leave their kids to fend for themselves, and then the next thing you know, their kids end up in prison, end up pregnant early, end up killing somebody, end up getting somebody pregnant, and then the parent be like, oh, what's going on? And it's like, hey, you was living your life. You was doing your thing. You know, you was ripping and running. You was all about town. And you weren't locked in, focused. Like you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And that's the thing that a lot of times we don't want to take that on the chin. But when you truly are there and you present and you active and you doing what you're supposed to do and you having the conversations you're supposed to have, this stuff don't happen. But when we gloss over things and we don't talk about the birds and the bees and we don't sit down and we're not really, really real, that stuff happens. And so, and that's why with my son, I talked about birds and bees. He was 9 years old. He was 9 years old. And it was real because that's when I started getting into the stuff when I was 9. So that's why I wanted to have that conversation with him. And so I had that conversation, and, you know, we talked about that. We talked through that. And that was something where it was real. And he was like, Dad, really? And so guess what? Because I was so real with him and I talked to him so much about love and relationships, he wasn't focused on having a girlfriend in high school because he knew it was futile. He knew that he was picking out of a very small pool. He knew that I'm not a fan of forcing an interracial relationship. That if it happens organically and y'all click and y'all connect and it works out, okay, cool. But just forcing it because you're going to school with predominantly white girls, that I'm not big on that. You know, I that's not ideal. If it happens, it happens. But getting over all of the history between black and white people and forgetting all of that and asking people to forget all of that, and then having the struggles of an interracial child. Most interracial children that I've seen, they struggle with their identity. People that's full black or full white struggle with their identity. So you already know somebody that's interracial, they gonna struggle, because anytime I talk to somebody interracial, I talked to an interracial boy today. He said, I've always struggled with confidence, not having enough confidence. And, you know, not knowing who I am, not believing in myself. And I had a white girlfriend in high school, and that's when I broke up with her. Because my interracial teammate told me that he feel like an Oreo. He said he feel like an Oreo, and that he don't feel white enough for the whites, he don't feel black enough for the blacks, and he feel torn because his mama black, his daddy white. He was like, I love my dad, I love my mom, but I feel torn. And although some can have a good, stable household and they could grow up with strong confidence and a strong identity, a lot of them go through a whole lot. They go through a whole lot and just searching for themselves and going through a whole lot. So it's like, if it happens and it's organic, okay, cool. but I don't believe in forcing it. And so me having that real conversation, my son, he's always talked to girls. They've kind of dated, they've kind of talked, but he's never once came to us and said, can I take my girlfriend out on a date? And now in college, he knows he's looking for his wife. It's a much larger pool. And he knows he's looking for somebody of his race first. And if that don't happen, then he'll be okay and cool with meeting somebody who's not of his race. If it's organic, but not choosing out of insecurity, not choosing out of self-hate, not choosing for any other reason other than this is who I met, love is blind, I hit it off with this person, and she is Hispanic, or she is white, or she is another nationality, or something like that. And so these the lessons we got to have with our kids, talking to them about sex, talking to them about dating, being in their life if we can, being present if we can. And so with the David Goggins situation, it sounds like he's saying that him and his ex don't get along, and she made his daughter hate him. And that does happen. That does happen. It happens all the time. I can't say it don't happen. But I can also look at him and tell that he seems like an insufferable man. That he get on my nerves just listen to him talk online. So I could imagine a woman dealing with him and having to live with him and put up with him and hit his mouth, all that. And he got a lot of childhood trauma from his dad. And then it sounded like, I think he was saying he didn't have a good relationship with his dad. And a lot of times that trickles down, and then you don't have a good relationship with your parents. So sometimes you don't have a good relationship with your kids. And my sister got pregnant at 16, and my dad and mom was in the house. So it's one of those things. But my dad was focused on me at that time because I was getting ready to go to college. So he started spending a lot of time with me, and my sister got jealous, and she had a lot more free time, and she was out at her friend's house, and her friend was Mexican, and her parents worked a lot. So her parents was never home. Her mom and dad, they was working, 2-3 jobs. So the Mexican girl would be at home, and then my sister and her other friend, they was 2 black girls, they would go over there and stay the night. And we were thinking that the girl parents was at home, so we thought everything was cool. Well, come to find out, had a guy that was 20 years old that lived over in that neighborhood and started hanging out and going around them and started talking to my sister when she was probably 15, 16. And, the guy was a good guy, normal guy, no issues, not a thug, went to school, played on the basketball team, hollered at my sister, started dating her. And that was back in the days when that was a little more normal. I didn't realize it till I watched the movie Clueless with my wife the other day, and she fell for the college boy that was her dad's ex-stepson, but he still would come around. And he was in college. I don't know if he was a freshman and she was in high school. I think she said she was about to turn 16 in May. And I'm like, how she turning 16 in May and now she done fell in love with this college kid? I'm like, what the world? And then I realized, like, oh, that is real. Like, that did happen back then. Like, now, it probably still happened, but it's just more frowned upon. And they had it in a whole movie. And I'm like, that's statutory. I was calling it statutory. That's statutory. But 16 is the age of consent. So my dad tried to press charges on the boy who got my sister pregnant. The police said, well, 16 is the age of consent. So there's nothing we could do to him. I was like, wow. Hey, that's my wife calling me, so I got to go. God bless you. We'll talk soon.